Hey everybody, it is Dave from Gravity Wiz, joining y'all for another live workshop. We're super excited about this one. A lot of history with this perk. Start off as a free product, and we'll get into that in a second. First, I just want to remind everyone that this is a recorded session and it will be available on YouTube after the fact. So if you can't make it or if you can't stay for the whole time, definitely make a point to follow back on YouTube to watch the recording. So yeah, let's talk about submit to access. What are you going to get out of this session, and why do you want to use it? So the idea behind submit to access is that it allows you to capture interest or even microtransactions or even reward your customers or prospects for completing a form. There's a lot of cool ways you can use that. Fun fact, since we launched Submit to Access earlier this month, it has reached our top 5 perks. So that's a really cool little milestone for it already. Excited to see where it goes from here. So let's talk more about the why. So again, this allows you to protect your content without the need for a full-blown membership system. In addition to protecting the content, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons that you would want to protect content, right? There's the idea of, content that has value that you're looking to, extract from that, such as just a contact details, name and email. That's actually one of the ways that we have used it in the past. Our free plugins, we're like, hey, these are pretty valuable. It would be awesome if we could have the opportunity to have a follow-up conversation with folks who are downloading these. And so we just put it behind submit to access, and they could submit the form and then get access immediately to the plugin. Other cool ways, again, microtransactions. We're going to get into that in a little bit. You can also technically use this as a membership system, a login free membership system. And we'll even talk a little bit about how you could integrate kind of the best of both worlds, where you can actually allow them to register and save their access, the forms that they've submitted into their profile. Pretty cool stuff. So again, let's talk about the history. This started as a free plugin back in 2015, which I feel like I can't even quite remember what life was like in 2015. But I know what I was doing, and that was writing a snippet that grew into a plugin that 10 years later has now grown into a premium plugin. And the difference between the free version and the premium version is night and day. But it's always kind of cool to just, see where something started, where it came from. Yeah, it was actually configured via custom fields. So that was the UI for it. You just go in and you'd have to remember these specific custom field values and then add them in manually. Now you're going to see today, it is insanely better, much smoother experience. So let's dive into it. All right, so we've learned from past workshops. We've zoomed way in right here, and I'm also sharing the full screen. So that means anytime I click on a drop down, you'll be able to see that too. So submit to access. You're going to hear me say that a lot today. And we're going to start with the block editor. How can you block content or protect content in a page that is powered with the block editor? So I already have some posts set up here that I want to protect. So we have this spell, which is the crown of the northern wind. I had AI whip up a nice little history, an incantation, and a quick description of this. Now these spells, they're worth a lot. We don't just want to give these away to anyone on the street. You have to at least establish contact with us. And the way that we want to do that is we want to have them register on a form. So we're in the post tab here. We're going to scroll down. And you see the submit to access has its own little meta box. We're going to click enable submit to access, and wrong form. Sorry, you can see I was testing earlier. We're actually going to do our register for access form. And we're going to come back to this in a second. But first, I just want to show you this whole flow of how this works. So we're going to leave this at show a message. And that just means that, hey, if they don't have access to this page, then it's going to show them a message. And that message can be defined right here. there are some global defaults, which we'll come back to in a second as well, that control this, but you can manually override it with your own custom message. There's also this content loading message, which would appear if you're doing anything like kind of process intensive, if you're, or even if your server's a little slow. It happens to the best of us. This content loading message will be displayed after the form is submitted, while Submit to Access is fetching the content for display. And then lastly, the only other decision that you're going to need to make is the access duration. How long do you want the user to have access? So in some cases, I think the default is browser sessions. That means if they close the browser, they're going to have to submit the form again to access this content. There's also forever, which, to be clear, is not actually forever. It's just a really, really, really long time. Cookies do have limits there. And then the last one is custom, and custom just gives you the power to control that however you want. So if you want to do 30 days, or if you want to do 30 weeks, or just 1 week, those are all possible combinations. For the sake of this test, we're just going to do browser session, and with everything else configured, we're going to save this. We're going to open an incognito window. I found in testing, this was just going to make it a lot easier for us to kind of always start fresh. And incognito allows us to do that. So you can see here, if you scroll down, the page content is hidden. So no one is getting access to this spell, the Crown of the Northern Wind, which is such an awesome name, unless they give us their name and email, which we're down for. Let's do it. And we're going to submit the form. And you're going to see that now they immediately have access to all of this content. One thing that you may have noticed is it went back to the top. That's actually something that we're going to fix. It really should just, the request is happening via Ajax. There is actually no page refresh. It just appeared that way because it scrolls back to the top. And so we're going to fix it so that wherever the form is on the page, it'll just stay right there. And so it'll feel as smooth and seamless as it's intended to. Okay, so now there were two little segues there that I wanted to explore in that first little early demo here. So the first one is global defaults. So we're going to jump over to the settings. And under Submit to Access here, you can see that there are some default settings. Now, these are the settings that will just be used by default if either nothing is specified or anytime you just create a new post or protecting new content. So again, we've already kind of gone over what each access duration means. One thing that was so cute, when I was testing this, I was so confused, like, wait, why is the custom duration showing up even though I have browser sessions selected? And the reason is that these are the defaults, right? So we still need to specify a custom duration default and a custom duration unit, even if the default is not custom here, because you may select custom on a future post that you're protecting, and you want to have the same default values for those when custom is selected. There's also the ability to specify a default requires access message. Again, this will be used on any new post that's been that has Submit to Access enabled on it. And then again, that load-in message that appears when the content is being fetched after submission of the form. The other segue I wanted to talk about was requiring a unique submission. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and enable that. And then we're going to go to another post here, The Charm of the Quiet Earth. And we're going to do some of the same kind of setup that we just did on that one. We're going to require the same form, register for access. We're going to also require unique access on this page, and we'll leave everything else at the defaults. So we're going to save. We're going to open this up in an incognito window. So we're going to go ahead and get access to this post. Awesome. So that worked. So now we're going to jump back to the other browser though. We're going to get this. We're going to open this in an incognito window. Now note, this is the same incognito session. And you're going to see that even though we submitted the form for the other post, we still have to submit it here. Now, instead of submitting it, I'm actually going to disable this on both of these. Oops. And go back over here. And when we refresh it, you're going to see, because we already submitted the form, we have access to this. And again, we'll still have access to that one as well. All right, let me check off some boxes over here indicating our progress. Next up, so this is the block editor. How does this work in the classic editor? Very similarly. So our Whisper of the Hollow Stone is powered by the classic editor. You can see that it originally started in the block editor, which is why you see all these little custom tags here. So first up, you'll see that there's this meta box. So very similar to what you see in the block editor, but this one is obviously designed to work in the classic editor. You enable it. You can select your form. Again, you can see I was already testing this where I've selected register for access. But just to be thorough, let me show you me doing that again. Again, here's our option to require unique form submission, show a message, or redirect. I'll come back to redirect in a little while here. And then you can control the message, and you also have the ability to do the access duration. Yeah, so all the same settings, just styled to work with the classic editor. And just as a quick demonstration, we will go ahead and submit this just so you can see that on the front end, there would be functionally no difference. It would still be as if it was powered by the block editor. There's all of our content. Awesome. So that is the classic editor. Now, one question that you may be having at this point is, okay, so great, you can block the content, you can get an email, that's pretty cool. But if you're really trying to get, valuable leads, what is preventing them from just submitting a fake email? Well, let me show you what will happen, and then I'll tell you what's powering it. Actually, I just remembered I disabled it, so we will do it in reverse order. We're going to hop over to Spellbook. I'm zoomed in, so my menu is a little wonky. Jump over to Spellbook, and we're going to search for a handy dandy perk, GP Email Validator. We're going to activate it. Awesome. And then we can go to the the settings here. I'm just going to show you really quickly that I've already configured this to use the Kickbox validation service. You can also use the basic validation if that's all you need, but we found a lot of success with Kickbox. It catches a lot of those edge cases that the basic can sometimes miss. And I have it in its most aggressive form right now, where it's only going to be accepting the best quality. They actually recommend only marking off undeliverable, and then you can just validate the other ones as they come through. It'll tell you if it's risky in the entry details. And the other nice thing with Kickbox is it does give you this ability to show you if you might have accidentally typed in the wrong email, it can catch those as well to help the user just improve their overall experience. So with that said, it's already set up. I am going to jump back over here into our incognito window. And now dave@smith.com, despite seeming like a fake email, is actually a real email. So I am going to have to use a true fake email, like dave@example.com. And you're going to see that it catches it and it says, hey, that's not real. If you want to get access to this content, you're going to need to submit the correct one. And so we do, and then boom, we have access. Awesome. So email validator is just like, it's a nice tool for these kinds of things. And that's one of the things that's really exciting about Submit to Access is that since it's built on top of Gravity Forms, you have access to the full Gravity Forms ecosystem. So whatever functionality you want to bake into your requires access form, you can do that. And I'm actually going to come back to that in a minute here. We're going to talk about requiring payments. But before we do that, I actually want to talk a little bit about blocking off specific sections of content instead of the full page. So we're going to go to our Charm of the Quiet Earth page here, our spell, and we're going to go ahead and disable the top level, the document level access. And we're going to go to this block here, and I want to make sure I have the right block selected. I want to get the quote here. And we are going to do submit to access. And yep, register for access. And there's two options here. So when you get to the block level or the content level, you can either show a message. In this case, it would be the form. Well, the form will automatically be appended, but it's controlled with whatever you put here. Or you can hide the block. So this is going to be useful if you are displaying, or if you're hiding multiple pieces of content on the same page. Then rather than showing that requires access message for every single block, you can just hide the block altogether. So we're going to keep show message though, because we actually want it to display something. And then on this one, I'm actually going to put a little something else in here just so you can see this other cool thing we have, which is the form merge tag. So this typically comes up in the cases where you're actually applying styling to the setup. But if you're just, in this case, we're just going to put a little message saying, you know, thanks for understanding. Not a message you'd probably use, but I'm choking right now. But I just want to demonstrate that normally the form would be appended to this message, but because we are using the form merge tag, it's going to output the form wherever we direct it, wherever we include this merge tag. And that just, again, it gives you a lot of flexibility for how this requires access message will look. Okay, other than that, I think we're good to go. We're going to save that. We're going to open incognito window. And you're going to see here that the description shows, the history shows, but the incantation, the most important part, the part that allows them to actually use this spell, that is what we are gating here. And you'll see that if we submit this, that it now reveals it. And the other thing, again, I just wanted to point out, let me reopen that one more time, is again, the placement of the form, where you can see that the form is right between those two lines. And again, you can extrapolate from there about different ways that you could, style that form. If you wanted to wrap it in a div and apply some custom styles there just to that little section, or if you wanted to have the message after but no message before, all of those are possible because of the ability to customize that access message. Now, this is again in the block editor. Let's take it back and go to the classic editor. How does this work in the classic editor? So with the classic editor, I'm going to grab this little short code over here. And honestly, let me also go in and disable submit to access. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to lock down the incantation so that they don't get to cast this spell for free. And we're just going to wrap it in this shortcode, the GPSA shortcode. There are a ton of additional parameters here. But in this case, I've already got my form ID. And if you don't know how to get your form ID, it's pretty easy. Let me actually find that specific form. It's right here. And if you go click on the form, well, first of all, it's available up here in the query string, but you can also go to the embed option here, and it will tell you there as well. So that's how I got that, just in case you were curious. And so I'm just saying, hey, it requires this form ID. And if we update this, and we are going to view this post again in incognito. Boom, same effect. Again, there's no difference to the user. The end user experience is the same, regardless if you're using the classic editor or the block editor. And we submit that, and there you go. It has revealed the incantation. Now, the really awesome thing about the shortcodes is that it's not limited to the classic editor. You can use the shortcode in the block editor. You can use it in Elementor, Beaver Builder, Bricks, whatever you're using to, whatever page builder you're using, you can use the shortcode there. Anywhere shortcodes are supported, this will work. And that makes it very flexible. If you're curious to learn more about what you can do with this shortcode, I feel like this is like zoomed out now. I'm getting so used to the zoomed in look. Came over here, I was like, this is tiny. Is our site always this small? Oops, I actually meant to go to settings and shortcode. So you can see required form IDs is just the basic property that you would need to require access. But everything that you can do via the settings, you can also require on the shortcode. So again, you can customize the message with support for the form merge tag, the fallback behavior if you want to show the message or hide it, just like I talked about with the block, where you can show the block or hide the block, depending on the access. Access duration, again, it supports all of these properties. And again, they've just been taken from the settings and converted into parameters that you can use with the shortcode. Here's a particularly beefy example. And yeah, you can see it does get a little beefy there, but the power that gives you is it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. All right. Okay, moving on to requiring payment. First of all, are there any questions, or am I just on cruise control here?
I think you're good so far.
I don't know if that's a win or a fail, but let's keep going. Requiring a payment. So this is one of the things that may not be, immediately obvious to folks. Is we were talking a little bit about the idea that you can combine other plugins in the Gravity Forms ecosystem to build more complex or satisfy, different requirements that you have for protecting your content. So let's go to our Crown of the Northern Wind. We are going to require a different form here. This one's going to be full spell access. And this time we're actually going to set up a redirect. So this gives me a cool opportunity to show you about the redirect. So in this case, let's just imagine that, you have a bunch of protected content. This is typically would not be like SEO content if you're redirecting away from it in that case. But let's just say you have the redirect set up. You want them to, anytime they try to access this content, you just want to hard redirect them to another page, and they need to submit that page, maybe even with a payment. And then once they submit that, then they can access all of the spells in your site. So this is where it kind of ventures into the membership style payment gating. So I'm going to go here. I have the redirect selected as the requires access behavior. And we're going to add a URL. And I already have a page set up here called spell access required. I will show you that page in just a second. Everything else, we're just going to leave the same. And I'm going to go ahead and save this post. I will open this in an incognito window. And you'll see that even though I try to open that page that we've been working with this whole time, this whole workshop, this time, instead of actually getting access to that page, it redirected me to spell access required. Lets them know, oops, you've been redirected. A little message kind of explaining like, hey, that spell is locked away. You need to sign up. So we are going to sign up, but I think, did I already have? Yeah, I left Stripe active. Perfect. So I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to kind of give you a behind the scenes look of how this is configured. But in this case, we're actually going to collect some fake money, but we are going to require a credit card, and it needs to be valid, again, for a sandbox account. And then we're going to submit this. And it lets us know that this submission was successful, and we can go back now and access this page. So how does that work exactly? So let me show you kind of like the different pieces of that puzzle. So first, we'll start with the page. This is the spell access required page. You can see that we just have a Gravity form embedded on this page. It's the same form that submit to access has been configured to require for access. That's important. And I legitimately ran into that when I was setting up the demo for this workshop. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. It was because I was using the original simplified register for access form, even though the page was set to require access to the full spell access. So yeah, don't let that one bite you. And that's pretty much all there is to it on this page. Obviously, you wouldn't want to submit to access on this page as well. That would be very frustrating for your users. So then next, I want to show you the form. Just kind of give you a little peek at how that's configured. So we have our full spell access form here. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of this before. Ignore that field. I was testing something. We actually are intending to add support for automatically redirecting back to the URL that they came from as part of the plugin. And I was hoping I could get it done in time for the workshop, but I missed the deadline. Next time. But I wanted to show you also here the Stripe feed. Super simple. I just set it up to collect this payment, whatever the form total is. And then I already have my Stripe account hooked up. I mean, it really is that easy with Gravity Forms. You just get these little pieces and you just put them together. This form requires a payment, and now submit to access requires this form in order to grant access, and therefore it would require a payment to get access. And that is pretty much it for requiring payments. Also, again, that was just a little quick demo of the redirect. One thing I did just think about as far as mentioning is you'll notice that you can actually select multiple forms here. It is worth noting that this does not make them, it does not require them to submit both forms in order to get access. It is just either form or any form. So we could add as many as we wanted. And if they have submitted any of those forms, it would give them access. I'll be honest with you, I had a heck of a time coming up with a use case for this, but I know based on the 10 years that the free version of this was available, there have been people that wanted that. So we added it. If you need it or if you have a good use case for that, let us know so we can document it. That would be awesome. If there's one thing, yeah, that our customers have taught us is that we know nothing Jon Snow, and they come up with a million new use cases for our products. So if I see people using things, even if I don't fully understand it, we are like, let's just go with it. We'll roll with it until we understand it. All right, last thing, our last section I want to go over here is filters. Y'all know we love filters. It makes tweaks and dialing it in to specific requirements so easy. In a way that, junking up the UI with a million different options, it actually starts to become much harder because then there's so much more mental load for you to understand. So we really just try to focus on that whole 80-20 rule, like 80%, the features that 80% of our users are going to use, we add into the UI. And then for the other 20%, we always do our best to make a way to achieve those requirements, those use cases, and filters is a great way to do that. So starting from the top here, if we go back to our crown of the northern wind, and actually, you know what? Let's jump over to the charm of the quiet earth. This one's a little bit better configured for where we're at right now. And again, you just remember this is set up with submit to access. Oh, did I take it off of everything? Too fast, too furious. Let me refresh this, make sure I'm using the latest, and then we will go ahead and just block this. I'll require access for this. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to jump in and look at the incognito window. So you're going to notice that this actually doesn't display the form title or the description. And that is a deliberate decision because the idea is that you will most likely want to control a lot of that on a per page basis. And that way you can just customize the requires access message itself. But let's just say that you want it all to be handled directly in the form. So then you can just come here to the requires access message, set the form as the value for the requires access message, save that. And then, we're going to hop over here and we're going to go to snippets. I've already installed a few of these snippets I'm going to demonstrate. And this is just like a really easy snippet to display the title and description. This just taps directly into Gravity Forms functionality. They already have a filter here. It's actually called gform form marks. So we just added our prefix to that to make it clear that this is what that's extending. And this will only fire in the context of a submit to access rendered form. And then we just set those values to true, both of those. And so I'm going to activate this snippet. We're going to jump back to this page. Oh, and there we go. And now I'm going to refresh this and you can see, hey, now the form is handling everything. It is the form itself is the requires access message. Moving on, let's go back. We're going to, interesting. We're going to deactivate this one. So another common request we've seen with the free version of the snippet was the ability to automatically allow admins to have access. I'm sure all of you have administered sites before where, you have functionality configured for end users that then you also have to step through. One of the classic examples of this in Gravity Forms itself is required fields. And our live preview perk has a super awesome feature for disabling live required fields so that you can submit your form for testing. It's a bit of a segue, but it's the same sentiment as what is happening here, where maybe you want to test this page, you want to make sure everything's rendering correctly, but you don't want to have to submit the form to access that content every time or on multiple different posts. So this is where the auto access for administrators comes in. So actually, before I do that, this is going to be the one time we're actually going to demo this on the site. Oh, I must have submitted it here. Let me go ahead. I'm going to show you a little bit behind the scenes here. We're going to delete those cookies there. And that, I just deleted my access. And you're going to see, boom, we have access is required again. And so now that access is required, we can successfully test the auto access for administrators snippet. And just actually a quick little sneak peek at how simple this is. GPSA has access is the filter we're using. You can control pretty much anything about that. I believe it also passes the post ID. So if you wanted to do special rules for different types of posts, or maybe even a specific post, that is an option. And then here I'm just basically saying, hey, if the user has this role, the administrator role, then we just want to grant access to them. So then we'll jump over here and we're going to refresh this page, and then boom, we have access just like that. As the admin, this will save you a ton of time. And this is actually one of the snippets that I could very well see becoming like a global setting, depending on, people actually end up using it. So if you use it, please let me know. So that way we can add your vote to get it included by default. In the meantime, the snippet is painless to install, so have at it. Okay, so again, getting back into the membership style gating of content. Again, this does not, submit to access that's not its goal, is to be a membership plugin. But so often in WordPress, I feel like you are either tied to a solution that doesn't meet your needs, or a solution that meets way too many of your needs, and it's like way too bloated and has way too many options, and there's just way too much learning curve. And you're like, look, my requirements are so simple. I just need this thing. And then, of course, you get to that point where you're done the project and the client comes back and they're like, I just need the one more thing. That is the spirit of Gravity, is that one more thing. And that's why we have this option here in Submit to Access, which allows you to save access, not just to a cookie, but actually save it permanently to the user's profile, or in the user meta. So I'm going to enable it really quick, and I'll just give you a little sneak peek of this. Again, super, super, super simple. There's like the storage mode. This defaults to cookie, but you can just update it to user profile. And then if the user is logged in, it will save access to their user profile. And if they're not logged in, it will use a cookie. Just like that. Worth noting, user profile does not honor the duration limits. That is one big caveat. If they are users, the idea is just that, hey, like, we're just assuming that you're looking to do permanent access for logged in users after they've submitted the form, of course. So with that said, let's hop over to this page. We actually leave this intact here. And I'm going to submit this. Okay, I have access, and now I'm going to open an incognito window. It requires access. And now, worth noting, without this snippet, which let me actually do that first. Without this snippet, it actually, I'm going to confuse myself here, because I actually don't think I've tested this specific flow where you had it enabled before when you submitted the form, but then disable it. So let's test together. We're going to hop over here, and I am going to log in. Uh-oh, that's not it. With my super secure password there. And now that I'm logged in, okay, perfect. So yeah, you can see it does require access, because it doesn't even, if that value is not set, it doesn't even look at the user profile to see if they have access. And so now we're going to go back to the snippet, and we are going to enable it, and we're going to go back here, and I have access, because again, I submitted it while logged in. So it saved the fact that I have access to this. And when I logged in, it restored that access for me. Just another little cool thing you can do. And lastly, I want to talk about custom post types. There are so many different ways that you can use custom post types. And so we were hesitant to enable submit to access on all custom post types out of the box. We ran into issues with it even with our own GP bookings plugin, which has a custom post type for resources and services, and submit to access was showing up on those, but it really didn't make sense, because those aren't ever actually displayed on the front end. They're just administrative. It's an administrative post type. So that's why we didn't enable support for custom post types by default, but we made it super simple to do. I'm going to show you the way to do this with code. But Clay, our CTO, actually, when I was demoing this for him earlier, he was like, oh yeah, you actually don't even need code for that. But just since I did the effort, and it could actually be very useful in some scenarios, I'm going to show you how to do that with code. So again, GPSA supported post types, and I'm just adding our spell post type. And do I need to do anything on this page? I'm going to activate it, and then I'm going to actually enable our custom post type plugin. And you're going to see I already have a custom post type that's registering for us. And just again, for the sake of thoroughness, let me show you a little bit behind the scenes here of how I did that. So you can see this is the spell post type that it's configured. Yeah, so you kind of get the idea from there. If you want me to elaborate more on custom post types, I'm happy to, but I think that will probably be enough. So now with the custom post type registered, we're going to go to, we're going to go to my spells. And do I enable this already? I did enable it. So first, actually, sorry, let me deactivate this. I want to show you it not working first. We're going to add a new spell, and you're going to see there's nothing over here. It has no idea about this functionality. So now we're going to activate it, and we're going to go over here, and now you see that it appears. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go through a whole thing with that, but let me talk about how to do this without the snippet. So let's deactivate the snippet again. Make sure that that isn't showing up. Perfect. And we're going to go back to the custom post type UI. We're going to go to edit custom post types. We're going to go to spells. We're going to scroll all the way down to the advanced stuff. Oh, wow. It really is all the way down. And so first things first, we're going to enable custom fields. This just tells this post type, specifically in the block editor, that there is going to be data saved in the post meta, and that it should just basically be listening for that. And then the custom supports, this is where you can just come in here and just type in GP submit to access. Oops. And we are going to save the post type. We're going to go to add new spell again. We're going to open this up, and boom, there we go. Locked in. All right. Any questions yet?
We're good. Good to go. I was going to say there was one that stuck out to me. It wasn't a question, but Haji just shared that Crown of the Northern Winds sounds like a Led Zeppelin album title.
Heck yes. Heck yes. I love that. That is awesome. All right. Well, I do have a few pre-submitted questions we can go over. First up, we have Brian T. How is the content being hidden? Is it just CSS or something more? Could a savvy user view the source code to still see it? So no, they can't. And that is actually something that was really important to us with Submit to Access. We wanted to make sure that the content was truly secure, truly gated. And so what happens is at runtime, the page is rendered with the form if they don't have access. And only when they submit the form does Submit to Access send an AJAX request to fetch the content and then replace the form confirmation with the content. Additionally, the cookie itself is also very secure. It's using basically secure hashing, and Submit to Access ensures that the cookie hasn't been tampered with since it set it, and it knows essentially the type of values that it can set, and what a valid value looks like and what a tampered value looks like. So it's kind of secure on both ends. A user can't just like bumble around and accidentally find the content in the source. And a malicious user could not go in and try to grant themselves access by tampering with the cookie either. Great question, by the way. What we got next, Cole? Gilbert P, can this replace a membership plugin like MemberPress, or is it more suited to one-off pages that need to be protected? So we've kind of touched on this throughout the workshop. I would say that it depends on your requirements, right? If you are just needing to protect some content or specific types of content, it's a great solution. It's so easy to set up. That's one of the whole points of it, is just like, you're not spending a ton of time learning a new plugin. It's just, you go to the page, it feels so seamless. You just click, oh, I just want to lock this down and I want this form, to be the gatekeeper for this content. The fact that you can share that access across multiple pages does make it kind of leans more into the membership kind of territory, where once you've submitted one form, it will automatically grant access to any other content that is requiring that form. So that is a nice characteristic about that. And the fact, again, that you can save that access to the user profile with that snippet. But yes, I tend to find myself leaning more towards the one-off concept. Like, again, I don't see this as a full replacement for a membership system, although it could be if your requirements were light enough. Also, a very, very good question. What we got next, Cole?
We got Zeta in the chat. My main interest is in the ability to connect with APIs. Will Gravity Forms connect to any REST API I've built? I think you know the answer to this one.
So first of all, I love that this has nothing to do with submit to access. And I respect it because it gives me an opportunity. And this is not a planted question, by the way. This is a legit question that came in through the form. But yeah, we're going to be able to do this very soon with API Alchemist. It's going to be part of the Gravity Connect suite. I kind of gave a nice little teaser about it in the last weekly. If you're not up to date, definitely go back and check that out. But yeah, it will allow you to do some really, really advanced stuff with APIs. The thing that I'm the most excited about, I guess there's two really cool features that I think just like make it like head and shoulders above anything else out there. The first is that it is deeply integrated with Populate Anything. So Populate Anything, let's give you a little gander at that bad boy. Thing. Look at all those perks. There it is. Okay. Populate Anything. So you can see with Populate Anything, what we're doing here is we're dynamically populating this data from the database. In this case, it's from posts. And you can see it can pull. It's not just about populating choice-based fields, but you can actually also populate values. Again, we could do 20 workshops on Populate Anything. I know we've done at least one. So if you're curious to learn more about it, definitely check that out. But the really cool thing is that with API Alchemist, you're going to be able to start pulling this kind of data directly, from external APIs. So I actually just cooked up a really sweet demo when I was QAing API Alchemist last week, where it's pulling car data in, year, make, model. From a remote database. It can cache it for you, so it's not like pinging it on every request, which is just something that our customers have been asking for a long time. We've had a snippet for that too. So really, really excited about API Alchemist. The other thing that's worth mentioning with API Alchemist is the response handling. So not only can you send the response, but you can actually do stuff with the response that it will generate. So you can update. You can assign the results to a field on your form or entry meta. You can even, for like really big requests, we're calling it like advanced response handling. You can configure a webhook on your end to receive the response later. So the user submits the entry, you send the request off to, NodeMation or something. It does a ton of enrichment based on that entry. And then it can return a robust response full of data. Then, that might have taken, 10, 20 minutes for the NodeMation to run through that full process. However long it takes, it doesn't matter. That burden is on the external server and not your server. And that's all possible because of API Alchemist and its ability to register its own webhooks to receive those responses. Yeah, pretty incredible. I'm really excited to share more about that. I better stop talking about it now though, because we could easily kill like four to five workshops on API Alchemist. And I think we have one more from Cazetta. Yeah, perfect. So he also had also Gravity Forms bookings. I would like to see a demo of that so I can compare it to booking plugins out there such as Amelia or WP Hotel Booking. So fair. I feel called out, and rightfully so. I actually had told the team when we launched the alpha publicly that I was like, hey, I'm going to do the demo for this next week. And then it just didn't happen. So appreciate your interest, Cazetta. I am going to prioritize that. I think a full, kind of functionality demo of that would be awesome. And definitely keep an eye out for the beta 1 when that arrives. We will absolutely be doing a workshop on that. And I assume there will be lots of questions there. I think that's it for the pre-submitted questions. Did I stir up any questions in that process?
I'm not seeing any here. Maybe we could just give it a sec.
Yeah, I'll give it a second. I have a sip of water here.
We got another comment from Haji saying, I hope API Alchemist is the subject of an upcoming workshop.
Haji Gomeshi. Absolutely, man. We maybe not the next one, but soon. Definitely very soon. Hoping to get it out by the end of the month. Worst case scenario will be early September. Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. Okay. Well, hey, y'all, that sounds like a wrap. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your time. It means a lot that you guys have just also invested in this journey. It's really cool to, again, have this plugin that started off as a little snippet and has journeyed now to this premium product. And I'm really excited to see how you all make use of it. Thanks so much. Bye.